you know, I coach a lot of women who are in relationships that are very, oh, I don't want to say, I guess I could say abusive in a way, very controlling. And, you know, I always say you're not going to, when you transition from this world, when you make the transition, the big transition, no one's going with you. That's a trek you have to go alone. You came in alone, you go out alone. Alone in the sense that you can't take your spouse, you can't take your kids, you can't take, it's just a journey that is yours and yours only, and it's unique. And really the only thing that you take with you is your experience here, and how deeply did you love? How deeply did you get to experience your life in your unique way? You know, with your decisions and your desires and your ideas about things and your beliefs about things. How deeply did you get to express that? You know? Or are you going to transition having lived your entire life based on what you thought you needed to be, or who you thought you needed to be, what you thought you needed to do, your expectations from others? It's just, there's just so much opportunity and so much to experience. It's limitless, it's infinite too. I mean, you think about abundance. You know, people think they may not have something to be abundant or feel abundant about or feel gratitude about. There's abundance everywhere you look. There's countless numbers of leaves on trees. There's countless numbers of blades of grass. There's countless numbers of grains of sand. There's countless numbers of species in life. And I mean, there's abundance everywhere you look. Everywhere you look. And if you're aware enough to see this, you know, if you've got drinking water, if you got water that's drinkable, if you've got a bed you get to sleep in at night, if you have a computer that you're watching perhaps this interview on, or I mean, really there is so much to be grateful for, and it's all relative. It's all relative. We take a lot of things seriously that we shouldn't be taking too seriously. I think the main thing that we should be taking seriously is really finding out who we are at our deepest, most pure and raw level. That if somebody were going to commit to spending any time on anything, that is where it would be, because it's from that we create our world. Everything mirrors back to us. And when something is difficult is happening in your life that isn't feeling so good, it's a mirror. There's something there. There's something within yourself that you might need to forgive, or there's something that life is trying to show you. There's a disconnect somewhere. So you know, it's easy to look out at somebody who's being, or something, that the situation that might be happening in your life, and go, how could that have anything to do with me? You know, I can't stand that person, they make me sick, blah blah blah. Trust me, it's not a reflection of necessarily that you're like that per se, but you know, perhaps that person is a very extreme example of a liar. Or you know, we've all lied, we've all cheated, we've all done everything. We're all everything. And so to stand in shoes that judges somebody else, even if it's an extreme case, really, it's not our place. Our place is to go within and say, where have I not forgiven myself for lying at one time? Or, you know, where have I not forgiven myself for feeling like I'm less than, or like I'm not perfect? Or, you know, it could be just little triggers. It doesn't have to be mean, you know, that you're an awful person or whatever. It's just there's some healing left to do in certain areas. And when you're aware and you're kind of paying attention, then you can go within. And I guess that's a good segue into your inner voice. Understanding that we all have it, and we all hear it in different ways. Sometimes it's visual for people, sometimes it's audible for people. For me, I'm very sensing. And for me, I can't really tell you how it's going to be for you, but just to give you an example, for me, I think in the very beginning, trying to hear my own inner voice, I kept thinking, well, that's just me telling me what I want to hear. Or how do I know that that's not me? You know, when you talk to yourself in your head or whatever, well, that's coming from somewhere. There is something, there's validity to that. So you should listen, and that really is your inner voice. And if you're lying to yourself, at some point you'll know it. You might not know it right then, but it'll reveal itself. And to trust that that really is coming from somewhere. The I am. Who's the I and who's the am? I mean, who's, you know, there is this inner, there's this inner knowing of the truth. You have all the answers within you, always. You always have. And you can tap into that, but you have to be still and get the chatter out of your head of life and conditioning and old paradigms and people yakking in your ear saying what you should and shouldn't believe. And so really connecting and starting to recognize that inner voice is huge. And journaling really helps with that. You can write down questions. Why is this happening? Or what am I supposed to see? And then write the answers. And that's your truth. That's your inner voice. It's coming from somewhere. And really start to pay attention to how you talk, because words are very powerful. That's where it's created. You know, there's this oneness, and we're all expressions of that. This is my belief. And take what you want, and you know, if something rings true, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. So everybody has their different, you know, everybody's truth is different, and that's okay. But you know, that you hear a lot about the law of attraction and manifestation, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions around that, to the extent of it being too external. But I believe that there's like this beautiful soil that we have, this mold, and it gives unconditionally. It doesn't say, well, that's a good seed and that's a bad seed, I'm going to grow the good one. Soil grows whatever you put there. Soil doesn't have an opinion about, even if it's a weed and it's going to choke out all your radishes or all your carrots, it's not going to say, I'm not going to grow this weed because it's going to choke out the good stuff. So that weed, these are just thoughts, right? The carrots, the radishes, the weeds, they're all thoughts, and they all go into this garden of life, into this soil, this creative, non-judgmental, unconditional medium that creates for you whatever you plant there, whatever it is you plant there. And for years we've planted things that are not really truth. There's, you know, so even when you start to tend your garden, you know how crops, you might plant wheat one year or corn one year and wheat the next or whatever, and years down the road you get a corn stalk growing out of the middle of the garden, you know, and that's disruptive. You yank that thing, you notice it, you yank it, you give thanks for the crop that it once served and move on. But it's tending your garden and tending that soil. The soil is gonna, that's the law. That's the law that creates for you. And it's not gonna, if you're thinking one thought of I want a new motorcycle and 10 thoughts I'm not good enough, you know, it's going to grow and manifest the things that are going on unconsciously a lot of times in your head. And so everything comes from thought. Everything that you see around you has come from a thought. It had to be thought of first. It had to be. It had to come from a thought, an idea. And those ideas got planted in the soil, and it becomes creation. And so the more you can really understand and tend to your garden and really, really, you know, fertilize that soil with just love and great things, gratitude, and kindness and compassion and hope and joy and all these things that can fertilize this garden, and then pay attention to what seeds you're planting And your life is going to tell you. Your life is going to tell you the seeds you're planting. It's going to say, well, this is what you're growing. We have billions of thoughts every day. And if every one of them manifested, it would be a absolute chaotic circus. But you know, the ones that really, really manifest are the ones that you're putting your most feeling behind. And if a lot of things are showing you that nothing good ever comes to you, showing you lack, then you're planting seeds of being not good enough or not worthy, or there's something very deep lying within you that needs to be nurtured and needs to be loved and brought to the surface and released.